This is Queen Elizabeth I, speaking to you from the 16th century. It's a Woman Crush Wednesday. Join Professor Buzzkill as he crushes on women from history who deserve more fame and glory.
Yes, it is Professor Buzzkill here on a Woman Crush Wednesday, and I owe the idea for a show on Hatshepsut, the fifth pharaoh of the 18th Dynasty of Egypt, to my fellow history promoters at the Deviant Women podcast. Check them out on your favorite podcast app. Yes, you heard me correctly. Hatshepsut, the fifth pharaoh of the 18th Dynasty of Egypt, who reigned from around 1478 to 1458 BC. We usually deal only in modern history on this show, so I need to remind you that all the date ranges in ancient history that I'll be talking about go, numerically down as they're counting down towards zero. Like many of you, I guess I just assumed that all ancient Egyptian pharaohs were men. But that's not true, and that's what I get for assuming. Scholars agree on the identities of 3 female pharaohs and disagree somewhat about whether there were 3 others. And this was all before Cleopatra. But they all definitely agree that Hatshepsut was a very prominent and powerful pharaoh. The famous American archaeologist and Egyptologist James Henry Breasted called the first great woman in history. Her name means foremost of the noble ladies, and she was born in 1507 BC to King Thutmose, or Thutmosis, depending on which scholar you read, Thutmose I. When she was 12, she married her half-brother, Thutmose II, and became regent to her stepson, who became Thutmose III, when Thutmose II died in 1479 BC. Is that enough Egyptian genealogy for you? Within 7 years, however, she'd more or less become pharaoh, giving herself the full powers and entitlements of that throne. Egyptologists consider Hatshepsut one of the most powerful and successful pharaohs in Egyptian history. She's very successful in trade negotiations and diplomacy and in building projects. These were among the most important aspects of ancient political life. Hatshepsut stretched Egyptian trading routes and networks in northern Africa and into the Middle East. Along similar lines, she built diplomatic relations and strengthened ones that were weak throughout these areas, and that helped stabilize Egyptian power. There are even reports that she sent a diplomatic mission to a kingdom in South Asia, in what is now India. Perhaps the most visible evidence of her power is the hundreds of building projects she commissioned and built in Upper and Lower Egypt. It's easy to categorize, it's easy to dismiss her constructions as temples of glorification to the rule of the pharaohs and to what was becoming an Egyptian empire. But doing so hides the fact that in order to plan and build massive tombs, obelisks, temples, statues, Hatshepsut's reign had to be stable and peaceful. The simple construction of these projects strongly indicates, in fact as strongly as we can be sure of almost anything in ancient history, that she fostered and maintained a stable economy, under which these things could be planned. And, of course, she fostered the creation of extensive labor forces to build them. The physical evidence of this aspect of her reign may be seen in almost every major museum in the world, at least every museum that has antiquities, that houses, Egyptian statuary. They all have works from her period. In fact, New York's Metropolitan Museum of Art has a Hatshepsut room dedicated to pieces from her reign. So the next time you're strolling through the Met looking for glory, make sure to pay Hatshepsut her due and tell her that Professor Buzzkill sent you. That and enough cold hard cash to pay for regular admission should get you right in. Talk to you next week.